Yo, what's up guys, it's Aptex here. In today's video, I'll be testing out all the major PlayStation emulators that are available on my Android device. For example, the PS3, PS3 emulator, shared PS4, a PS4 emulator for PC, PCSX2, which is not officially available for Android devices, and also ePCSXC, a PlayStation 1 emulator for PC. We'll also be trying to emulate games like God of War, Gran Turismo, and lot more. So before getting started, if you guys are new here, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification as I upload similar videos on my channel. With that being said, let's get started. Alright guys, to get started for today's video, we'll be using a Windows emulator for Android devices known as Winlator Glipsy C mode. I have already made a video talking about how to set up this emulator on your Android devices. Basically, it is capable of emulating PC apps and games on any Android device, and that's what we'll be testing out in today's video by trying out PlayStation emulators that are supposed to be very difficult to run on Android. So to get started, here are the settings of Winlator Android that I'll be using. The latest Box 64 version, Box 64 preset will be set as performance, and that's about it. Afterwards, if we just go and tap on edit container, you'll be able to see screen size is set to 800 by 600. Graphics driver is the Turnip 24.3.0.9. Audio driver will be set as Pulse Audio, and DX wrapper is 2.4.1. Other than that, video memory size is set to 4 GB, and that's about it. That is going to be our Winlator container. You might be wondering, how will we test out all these emulators? Well, I have created a new drive in Winlator Android, specifically where I have stored all the PlayStation emulators that we'll be testing out in today's video. So for PS1 we have ePCSXC, for PS2 we have PCSX2, for PS3 PCS3, and for PS4 shared PS4. And as there are no PS5 emulator that are working currently, we won't be testing out PS5. Well, let's start off by testing out PS1 emulator on our Android devices straight off the bat to see if it works or not. And if this video reaches 250 likes, I'll test out all Xbox emulators on my Android device as well. And right away you will be able to see ePCSXC has successfully started. So this is a PSX or PS1 emulator. To start running it on our Android device, tap on options, set CPU overclocking to 1x. Now I have already loaded all the necessary BIOS etc. in this emulator, so I'll just go and tap on run BIOS, and you guys will be able to see Sony PS1 intro screen right here. The BIOS has successfully been loaded, and there we go, PS1 menu. Now that you know the BIOS works, we can simply tap on the file button. Afterwards, select the run ISO button. Select the game that you want to try out. I have already tried out Resident Evil. I'll be trying out Gran Turismo instead. I'll tap on the open button. Afterwards, here we go. As you'll be able to see, the game will immediately start, which means that this PlayStation 1 emulator is completely functional on our Android device. And for these kind of emulators, it is recommended that you use an RTS game profile, and you can use the Z button as the X button. And here we go guys, our game has successfully started. I'll just go and quick start any kind of match, and here we go guys, Gran Turismo 2 has successfully started, but I am using the Z button to control our game, and yeah, you will be able to see it is working flawlessly on my Android device, that too straight up 60 FPS. Now as there is already a PlayStation 1 emulator available for Android devices, you might be wondering, why are we trying it out on a Windows emulator? Well, that's because the PC versions of these emulators are more stable, and as it is running at 60 FPS, you don't have to worry about any sort of incompatibility. I'll just go ahead and close PS1 emulator for Android, and let's move on towards setting up and testing our next emulator, which is going to be PCSX2. Now this is one of the best PS2 emulator for PCs ever created, and unfortunately it hasn't been completely ported for Android devices. I know Ether SX2 was a port version of this, but as you know, it was discontinued, so it no longer has any updates. Anyways, here we go, welcome to PCSX2. I'll just go ahead and tap on the next button and load all the necessary stuff. Let's go guys, the setup is complete. I'll tap on the finish button, and here we go, our PS2 emulator has successfully started, the original PCSX2 emulator on our Android devices. And immediately you'll also see God of War demo that we'll be testing out in today's video. But before doing that, let's just go ahead and tap on the settings. Afterwards, go to graphics, and let me show you guys the settings that we are working with. So full screen mode is set to borderless, which is useful by default, and you can keep everything as default if you don't want to change any settings. So let's close settings and test out our first game right away. So I'll just go ahead and double tap on God of War and see if it opens or not. Alright, now we got a pop-up saying that failed to create a render device. This might be because the graphics device is not selected as our GPU. So we'll go to settings, then graphics. The first option, as you will be able to see, it is set as default. We'll just go ahead and select OpenGL or Vulkan, whichever you want to use. I'll go with Vulkan. And in terms of adapter, we'll go and select the Turnip Adreno 750. So just go ahead and select the GPU that you are using in your Android device. After that's done, we'll just go ahead and close this settings icon and once again try opening God of War demo to see if it works or not. And still guys, for some reason we are getting this issue, so let me just go ahead and try out some different renderers and I'll be back. And here we go guys, after choosing the OpenGL renderer, it actually managed to start, but now it is saying that failed to allocate hash bucket chain. So unfortunately it looks like that PS2 emulator cannot be emulated on Winlator Android. And yeah, unfortunately this PS2 emulator does not work on our Android device. Let's just go ahead and move on towards the next emulator that I know most of you guys will be excited about. I'm talking about the PS3 PS3 emulator. I have already made a dedicated video of how to set it up on Android in Winlator, and I have also tested out many games including God of War and much more on this emulator. And let me show you guys by double tapping that it actually works. Unlike the PS2 emulator, as you guys will be able to see our PS3 PlayStation 3 emulator, I'll just go ahead and tick mark this option, afterwards tap on don't show again and then tap on the continue button. So here we go guys, our PS3, a real PS3 emulator, has successfully launched on our Android device and we are using its latest build currently as of filming this video. Now to start setting it up, we just gotta tap on this option, afterwards make sure to import firmware by tapping this button. Once that has been done, I'll choose my PS3 firmware, afterwards tap on the open button. Now depending device to device, it will take good amount of time for the firmware to be loaded and everything to be compiled, but one thing which I can assure is that it actually works. And here we go, PS3 firmware has successfully loaded. I'll just go and tap on don't show again and then tap on the OK button. Next up, it will start compiling PPU models. Now this is the most time consuming stage of our PS3 emulator on Android. You can literally try out games like God of War, but this takes a lot of time. So let's wait until the PPU models are compiled and I'll be back. And there we go guys, the compiling is about to finish, and to be honest, my device has overheated quite a lot. Emulating PS3 is no joke on Android devices. So once everything has been compiled, we can now start emulating some games. But before doing that, let me just go and tap on this button. Afterwards, I'll select this option and select the game that I want to try out in today's video. For today's video, I have two PS3 games, but we'll only be trying out one, which is Sonic, not the God of War demo, as I have already tested it out in my previous video and it takes about half an hour to load it inside our PS3. If you want to see God of War gameplay on this emulator, you can check out the video on the iCard above. But there we go, I have successfully added Sonic Unleashed demo on my PS3 emulator. I'll simply select it and then tap on the play button. And here we go guys, after waiting for few seconds, it appears that our game is about to start. I have enabled the RTS touch controls, and as you guys will be able to see, our game has successfully started. For some reason the FPS bar has disappeared, but as you will be able to see, the game is working with no graphical issues at all. Let me tap on the enter button to enter the game, and we'll just go ahead and start a new game. And I am very surprised to see how smooth it actually is, but we got too excited without actually running the game. So let me just go ahead and try reopening our PS3 emulator, and this time I'll just go ahead and skip through all the cutscene quickly so that we can focus on the actual gameplay. So here we go, the game has successfully started. Let's tap on new game or start game to see if it starts this time or if it still crashes, and there you have it. Once again the game actually crashes. Now I can definitely tell you guys for sure that this is an issue with the emulator itself, as I have already tested out our PS3 with many games and all of them work properly, though they took a lot of time, but it actually worked. So you can watch that video on the iCard above. Anyways, let's move on towards our next emulator, which is actually going to be a PlayStation 4 emulator, which is currently under development and in its beta stages. It is known as shared PS4 emulator, and there we go. It will ask you to select a folder where you want to store your game. I'll just go ahead and select the user folder and then tap on the open button. Let's tap on OK. Alright, this PlayStation 4 emulator actually booted up on my Android device, as you guys will be able to see. Shared PS4 emulator version 0.3.0. Now the next step will be to simply tap on this button. Afterwards, make sure to import the game that you actually want to test out. Now for today's video, I'll be trying out Sonic Mania in this emulator, as Sonic Mania is one of the very low-end games out there that you can actually emulate. And here we go, game successfully added. I'll just go and tap on the OK button, and as you guys will be able to see, we have actually added and are about to try out a PlayStation 4 game on our Android device with the help of shared PS4 emulator. So what are we waiting for? I'll just go and tap on the play button, and oops, it seems that this emulator also crashes quite a lot. So let's try reopening this emulator to see if it works or not. Sonic Mania, double tap on this game, and nope. Unfortunately, this PS4 emulator also crashes. It is good to say that you shouldn't try an emulator inside of an emulator. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification, and I'll try out all Xbox emulators instead. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Peace out.